In this video, we will first discuss what is building information modeling before exposing the shocking truth, which is your design practice simply cannot survive in the future using only hand drawing or 2D CAD. So let's dispel some myths about the transition from 2D CAD to 3 BIM, such as myth 1. I can continue doing all my drafting in 2D. I really don't need 3D BIM. Myth 2. It won't take me long to transition as I have a huge library of 2D blocks, which I can simply use in Revit.
Myth 3.
It will be easy to source all 3D files I will require for my projects, or we can easily make them. Myth 4. Manufacturers will provide all the 3D BIM files I will require for my projects as they want to be specified. Myth 5. Manufacturers' content is easy to find and access with automatically assigned materials. Myth 6. Once I download the manufacturer's Revit family, I will be good to go. Myth 7. I can use a less than perfect Revit family for now and fix it up later. So exactly what is BIM? BIM is much more than a 3D drafting tool. BIM is more than the process of designing and constructing or operating a building. BIM should be the complete concept to construction electronic object-oriented information management tool for a building. For example, BIM should use tags and schedules and reports containing all the information about the 3D object-based products in the model. Governments around the world are mandating BIM and all customers will eventually require it. So why would they? Probably for operational management and to incorporate all the disciplines for now and for the future. Some think BIM is simply about identifying the mechanical or electrical clashes. It is not. The real power of BIM is its virtual reality. Real 3D uses actual extruded components, not just extruded lines. BIM is a design and production tool. Modeling assists with visualization, which many may find more useful as we get older. I find I can no longer visualize as well as I may have been able to in the past. Can you recall when you used to flip the butter paper to get a different idea? Using 3D modeling BIM, it is now possible to play with different roof pitches and curves. BIM is also a great design and documentation tool. When you model in 3D, you know for sure if something will fit if you use the actual 3D object. BIM also allows you to schedule, to make legends, to import and export data, to attach images, to coordinate consultants' documents, to detect clashes. The shocking truth exposed. Your design practice cannot survive in the future using only hand drawing or 2D CAD. If you think you may be able to get to retirement without embracing technology, you are wrong. The profession has always been difficult and it is not going to get any easier. The best use of your drawing board is to put your computer screens on it and use it as a standing desk. The good news is you can use the computer to sketch in exactly the same way as detail paper. It just does not stretch 10 millimeters by the end of the day. Changes are actually easier, as is automatic generation of many 3D axonometric views and perspectives from different directions instantly. The really good news, the software and hardware is so much cheaper than it was in the old days. Yes, learning to design and document in 3D does require a significant investment in money and time. So you need to leverage 3D to increase your income. Watch our video, 6 Hacks to Leverage 3D BIM. Myth 1. I can continue to do all my drafting in 2D? I really don't need 3D BIM. Perhaps you've been holding on to 2D CAD drafting for too long. If so, you may be boiling your eggs in the wrong pot. It does matter if you want to be in the architectural business next year. You will require 3D BIM if you wish to obtain any government work eventually. The reality is they can't keep postponing implementation, and you will require 3D BIM to get government work. Private enterprise is already demanding digital twins for future facility management. Myth 2. It won't take me long to transition as I have a huge library of 2D CAD blocks, which I can simply use in Revit. Yes, you can import 2D CAD standard blocks into Revit, but it is very time-consuming and the product is often less than useful. It is much better to rip off the Band-Aid and start from scratch. Why? Because you can build in more flexibility that will pay for itself and save you time in the long run. Myth 3. It will be easy to source all 3D files I will require for my projects, or I can easily make them. Many free 3D BIM files, families as they are called in Revit, are usually overmodeled and bloated. They often take up too many storage bytes. They have too much LOD level of detail and often end up printing as a big black blob at 1:100, or even larger scales. This is possibly one reason good 3D design and documentation remains so uncommon in smaller practices is because of the lack of good quality 3D content. 3D content is called families in Revit. It is usually the first thing taught, and because we are architects, our egos take over. We think we can reinvent a better family. Then we share our families online. Perhaps that is why the internet is full of 3D rubbish. If we are smart, we soon realize our limitations. Insufficient parameters inhibit easy changes or instances of the same family, so you end up with too many families. Often, no materials are assigned for rendering purposes, so invariably we trawl the net for better stuff. There are a lot of 3D components available, perhaps too much. Finding the good stuff is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Myth 5. Manufacturer's content is easy to find and access. Not so. It is often like asking, "Dude, where is my Revit file?" In order to access 3D BIM families, you firstly must typically register and assign a password. And then, you may eventually receive your password approval. And then, each of you have to retrieve the password login. And then, you attempt to retrieve the family from the website. And then, you have to upgrade to your current version of Revit. And then, you have to save the upgraded version. If you're experienced with digital files, you will understand the importance of a good hierarchical taxonomy. This is discussed in another video, 7 tips for getting started with transitioning to Revit. Without a logical digital folder structure, you will find it difficult to find what you are looking for. If you use a temporary name or place marker, you will end up with a huge folder with too many oddly named temporary files. This will happen time and time again, and I suspect is costing many practices thousands of dollars. If you already have a good document management system in place, it will be easy to find the downloaded file, open it, wait for it to update, and import it. Only then will you find the family does not look right because the material textures were not already in the root directory of your computer. Then you will have to get all those texture files and put them in the right place for Revit to find them. Autodesk has a habit of moving these files in updated versions, so this becomes a maintenance issue if you are aware of the problem. Some manufacturers do not realize many users would not know where to put these texture files. If you use realistic views in Revit, you require this information to be mapped. Myth 6. Once I download the manufacturer's Revit family, I will be good to go. Wrong again. Typically, manufacturers' cladding materials often come as a single skin product not attached to a wall. Cladding by itself is of little, if any, use. So that means you will have to attach the cladding onto a wall frame to be of any use. You would have to do this for every different color or texture of the cladding. All of this wastes your time. Eventually, smart manufacturers will realize this and deliver all possible options as different Revit families to save the designers time so they are more likely to use their product. Poor families also rarely have any parameters or they are not editable. Too many parameters can be just as bad, taking lots of trial and error to eventually not get what you were looking for. Myth 7. I can use a less than perfect Revit family for now and fix it up later. We get it. You simply must get the job out the door in order to get paid. However this means, projects end up with lots of "that will do for now" families which get passed on from project to project because you will always run out of time to make better ones. Even worse, some details get imported from old 2D libraries or drawn in 2D. Seen with 2. Slowly but surely, these legacy families get incorporated into the project template until the project template is bloated and all project files start too large. Some solutions are discussed in another video on the QARC YouTube channel. 7 tips for getting started with transitioning to Revit, and elaborated further in the video 6 hacks to leverage 3BIM to make more money doing less work. What would I know? I am an architect with over 40 years experience who has been there and done it. Watch my journey video on QARC Systems YouTube channel. Check out our YouTube channel for more tips and hacks. Want to try it out for yourself? Download the free version of QARC for Revit. No credit cards required. You will require access to full Revit as the QARC for Revit API will not run on Revit LT. Students will require a student ID. Almost convinced, but have been clickbaited by lots of promises only to find no real substance. I hear you. I have just been down the AI rabbit hole myself. Feel free to check out our frequently asked questions on the YouTube channel and the QARC Systems website. If you still have any niggling questions, please feel free to reach out and ask me by email or phone. As I say to all my students, if you have a good question, I will answer it for everyone. If your Revit subscription is due soon, then you could potentially bundle their Revit with a QARC subscription to supercharge your documentation. Refer to my video on the QARC Systems YouTube channel, Why Full Revit is Better Than Revit LT. You have nothing to lose. Worst case scenario, they will gain temporary access to our Revit library of over 14,000 families.